Whew. Let's go back to, I guess, when you look at colonialism and when it was finally just organized in a way that we would then have the Africa that we have today. Mm-hmm. For Africa, I'll take it back to the Berlin Conference. That was held from November of 1884 to February of 1885. As you know, most people don't realize that the European nations were just haphazardly going into Africa and just stealing from the local people, and pretty soon they started stealing. The British would steal from the French, and the French would steal from the Spaniards, and pretty soon they were fighting each other. So the then Chancellor of Germany, Bismarck, in his efforts to prevent the European war on the African soil, he reached out to his sidekick, King Leopold of Belgium. Mm-hmm. And at that time, as you know, Belgium, King Leopold was wreaking havoc in the Congo. People are not aware that over 75% of the Congolese population was killed by Leopold. He actually claimed Congo was his own personal country. He owned it individually, not as Belgium. So you call Leopold and say, hey, we got a problem here. Can we come together and see if we can organize the manner in which we're going to loot from these people? So that's really how Berlin Conference was called together. So they brought all the countries that were making this mad rush into Africa so they could organize how they were looting the continent. So really, the Berlin Conference was not called for in order to make Africa better, but rather to see to it that they organize themselves so they can effectively exploit the Africans and also make sure that the continent and its people are forever defeated and dominated.
Does the looting go on today?
Oh, yes. The looting continues, but it has put on different clothes. Now, there's something else they did during the Berlin Conference. Because remember, after they had traveled around the continent, found some of the most powerful kingdoms with well-established educational and religious systems. I mean, the African people are just resilient. When you get to know the Africans, you understand the African spirit. And they knew that if they continued the same way they were going, they would never defeat the Africans. So they set in place a system of colonization and making the Africans believe that everything that was African was bad and everything that was European, particularly British and English, was better. So the seed of divide and conquer was also sown during the Berlin Conference. And they knew, just give it a generation or less, these people, not only are they going to be so divided, because they chopped us up into these small economies that really could never survive on their own. You take a country like Equatorial Guinea, Central African Republic, Malawi, Rwanda, Burundi, you know, they're economies that even if they struggle and begin to do better on their own, if the master decides you're becoming too smart, they're very easy to destabilize. Wow. And that's exactly what has been going on in our Africa. So Berlin Conference, people don't realize it was designed to see to it that the Africans are forever defeated. So for those who turn around and say, but Ambassador, don't talk about the Berlin Conference, it was a long time ago. And I'll say, as long as we have a country called Malawi, a country called Zimbabwe, a country called Central African Republic, all the African countries really for that matter, Berlin Conference is alive and well. Because that which they set out to do 123, 24 years ago, it's still in place. Nothing has changed. So how can they say Berlin Conference is a thing of history, don't talk about it? No, what's really sad and what should disgust the world is to say this policy was put in place 123 years ago and it is still in place and nothing has changed. But what's really worse is when you look at what France did to the Francophone countries in 1958, when they were living, quote unquote, leaving the continent. They gave the Francophone countries two choices. You can be independent with some affiliations to France, or you can be independent with no affiliations to France. Well, Guinea and Mali said, we're done with you, France, goodbye, leave us alone. That's how we had the first ever known union of any African states. They went into those two countries, took everything that they thought they had brought to them. History tells us they even took the last cup, teaspoon, chair, and proceeded to pour concrete into the sewage pipes, completely devastating the two economies, simply because they refused to be affiliated to France. But what they, and also the Sékou Touré, then president of Guinea at that time, he looked at the pact that France was making the Francophone countries sign. It was called the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization. He refused to sign it.
How many countries in Africa?
Now we are sitting at 14 Francophone countries that are still held on to this pact.
So in 50-some countries in Africa altogether, were they all colonized?
Yes.
By different
countries?
Different countries?
The majority of the countries went to France,
yes,
Britain. We have Portuguese, we have Spanish, and those are the main ones.
You used the word looting before.
Yes.
The looting continues to this day?
To this day, it continues, but it has a different name.
So tell me what the name is.
Well, the exploitation of Africa continues. Again, let me go back to the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization, which is the biggest one. The Francophone countries were told, because we brought you the idea that you can sit at a table and eat with a fork and knife, we brought you tea, we built some roads and told you about going to school, we're going to call that colonial debt. So there's a fee for that, and you need to pay for it. They were also told that you must speak French as your official language, and it must be your language of instruction in schools, and we will be the one to design your educational system. And then also, your money. 85% of your bank reserves, you will keep them, you'll deposit them with the French bank, and we will take that money and invest it in the French stock market, but we don't have to tell you what the returns are on your money. So collectively, all the Francophone countries that signed that pact, their funds, the 85% of their bank reserves, are invested under French name.
Got a whole
1963, our Pan-African leaders came together to undo the boundaries imposed upon us by the Berlin Conference. Sadly, when they went to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, they were divided. We had the Casablanca group, who were the Pan-Africanists and said, Africa for the Africans, African Union now. That was Ghana, Guinea, Mali, Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia. The rest of the 25 other countries, they were the nationalists. They said, let's go slow. So they won. We often say in 1963, when the Casablanca group lost, Africa lost. 55 years later, we are still going slow. But all is not lost, my brothers and sisters. Last year, March in Kigali, finally, the African heads of states come together and say, enough is enough. This insanity cannot and must not continue. So they signed and agreed on what we are now calling the African Continental Free Trade Area. 52 African countries, 52 African heads of states signed on this. And after the leaders agreed on that, they then have to go back to their countries and put this decision through their parliament. We call that ratification. Out of the 52, they only needed 22 countries to ratify. But I have to tell you, the world never thought it was going to happen. There were some, they told me personally, Ambassador, this CFTA, it's going to be a piece of paper in a drawer. Ratifications, they take years, this is never going to happen. Well, there's a will, there's a way. March 2018, the heads of states agreed on the decision of the African Continental Free Trade Area. March 2019, exactly 12 months later, the 22nd ratification was deposited to the African Union. Hallelujah! May 30th, this month, implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area begins. Also last year was an amazing year, and we must give credit where credit is due. The heads of states came together again, 2018. For the African Continental Free Trade Area to succeed, the children of Africa must be free to move and live and work where they choose on the continent. They signed what they call the Protocols for the Free Movement of People. Yeah. And even as we are going through the process of ratifications, many countries, over 40 countries in Africa now.
If I were to ask you right now, all of you, what color is the devil? I want you to answer that question to yourself. And I'm going to pause for 2 seconds. Let me guess. Most of you said black, didn't you? Then I'm going to ask you another question. What color are the angels? Let me guess. Most of you said white. Who has seen either? And yet we accept it. So you take a group of people, you say the color black is associated with the devil, everything bad is black, you wear black to go to funerals, the villains in the movies are black, everything undesirable is black. You take a group of people and say you too are black. No matter how we try as black mothers to raise our children at home and tell them you're black and you're beautiful, the minute they step foot outside that door, they are immersed in nothing but negativity about that which they represent. How do you raise a child with good self-esteem in such a world? Why is it that the richest continent on earth, the go-to place for the world, is painted as the poorest? And I am not going to mince my words. The truth of the matter is the world needs Africa. Africa does not need the world. We have everything we need on earth. We could paralyze the world economies. Take a simple thing. Like we decide DRC can no longer export its coltan. That alone can paralyze the world. So rather than us Africans concentrating on the issues that matter, concentrating on issues that we need to take home, like telling France that 500 billion you're taking out of Africa every year, no more. France needs to be the third world developing country, not Africa.
Hey guys, once again, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm your host Larry, and I'd love to urge you, please, if you're coming across my channel or my videos for the first time, please consider subscribing to my channel, like my videos, and also comment. To my returning subscribers, I have to take this opportunity to say thank you so much for coming back and choosing to view my videos. To my new subscribers, my new viewers, I want to assure you that you are on the right channel. So guys, back into our today's, or rather our videos commentary. That was Dr. Arikana Chihombori. Well, I know most of us are familiar with this name and with her face. Now, Dr. Arikana, that has been some of her impressive speeches that got her fired, because she was and she is still opening the eye of most of our African leaders. Now we've seen her claim that we need more of Ibrahim Traores in Africa. We need more of him, like not more of what of him personally or rather as a person, but we need more people, more leaders who are ambitious, who are willing to serve African well as they should be served. Now, first of all, we actually have to appreciate her, show much love to her for this great work that she has been doing. I mean, most of our African leaders we've seen, they are just turning out to be puppets. They're turning out to be sellouts. I mean, of late, you cannot depend on your leader to do the right thing. We've seen, like, we only now have Captain Ibrahim Traore in Africa, and who is the current president of Burkina Faso. Now, people have named this person, this great leader, as the president of Africa, the people's president, the lion of Africa. Why? Because he is the leader who only cares about the well-being of a country and the citizens of that country. We've seen much developments he has done in his country. And also, he is the man responsible for taking out, or rather sending back, the French armies who were stuck in Burkina Faso. And we know they were not in Burkina Faso to help Burkina Faso in any way, or rather protect Burkina Faso. No, they were in Burkina Faso because they were taking advantage of the country. They were taking advantage and looting everything from the country, from the people of Burkina Faso. They are there. They were there pretending to care, pretending to protect. But in all, we know they were there exploiting the country's resources. You know, Africa is a very rich continent. Africa is the continent that's rich in all of the minerals. All of the minerals that are being exported to Europe, they come from Africa. But what does Africa benefit from this? We don't benefit anything from this. Instead, they give us crumbs. You know, they always say, Africa, we produce what we don't consume. And in this case, it's true. We produce what we don't consume, and then we consume what we don't produce. And now this is what Captain Ibrahim Traore is trying to put an end to. Much love also and much support to Captain Ibrahim Traore and also Dr. Arikana Chihombori. Now, we saw people came out, not just in Africa, but around the world, standing and showing solidarity with Captain Ibrahim Traore. But trust me, some of our countries here in Africa, first of all, being Nigeria, first of the countries being Nigeria, and then we had Liberia. What's wrong with this country that ends with RIA? Liberia and then Nigeria, they arrested the protesters. Trust me, they were peaceful protesters who were just showing solidarity with Captain Ibrahim Traore. And now they arrested them. So you tell me, when will Africa move forward? When will Africa be free? And this is what Dr. Arikana Chihombori is trying, or rather has been preaching and advocating in all of her ministries. Much love, and we appreciate you for that. We've seen most of our leaders. We have Dr. Arikana, we have PLO Lumumba, we have Captain Ibrahim Traore. These leaders, they are calling out to people, Africans, to unite. They are calling all upon all black people to unite. We need Africa to be one. If you want to defeat these external forces, we need Africa to be one. And also, our friends, our families from the Caribbean, that includes Jamaica. Africa is your motherland, and we appreciate you for standing with us. And much love to this great leader who is Mia Amor Motley, the Prime Minister of Barbados. She sent out a message to the Caribbean countries, to the Caribbean communities, urging them that to strengthen and renew the relationships with Africa. By just coming together, we will defeat the West. Africa, all black people, all black nations, let's unite. Let's show support to all of our great leaders. Let's stand with them. Captain Ibrahim Traore, Dr. Arikana Chihombori, we have PLO Lumumba, we have Mia More Motley from Barbados. Much love for urging people to unite, and mostly the black community. So, what I was saying is, I'd love to see a borderless Africa, because it's only in Africa where you need a passport to travel to these European countries. You need Yes, you need a passport, you need a visa, mostly a visa, to travel to these European countries. Why? Africa, let's unite. Let's have one borderless Africa. Let's start using and utilizing our resources before we think of exporting them to any other countries. So guys, I'm your host Larry. Remember, if you're coming across my videos for the first time, please consider subscribing to my channel, like my videos, comment and share. I'm your host Larry, and until we meet again, peace out and one love.